Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome in the Scorpio season, the dark and mysterious time.
Yes, we are in Scorpio season. So, thinking about, well, just this weekend, All Hallows Eve, Halloween.
Mm.
We're, seeing people out on the streets dressing up, monsters, ghouls, getting scary. We're really invited at this holiday as well to connect with the darker, kind of shadowy aspects of ourselves. And as well as that, the
Mhm.
31st of October is the time. I think it's around this time when they say that the veil between worlds is
This.
at its thinnest. So
Mhm.
we're more able to connect with ancestors, those who have passed, those who have gone on to the spirit world. So there is this thinning of the veils and an invitation to connect with the dark as well.
Yes, and I think that's what's really originally behind Halloween. Obviously, it's commercialized, and now it's all about monsters and scary faces and blood, right? But
Yeah.
actually, there is a lot of depth in this month, in this season, in the Scorpio season. And Scorpio is about transformation and transforming the dark into this through this alchemical process. We speak about the cycle of life, death, rebirth. And as you're speaking about the veils, there's something about this alchemical, transformative energy that is available to us. And and the new moon on the 4th of November it's a time to set intentions that will that pertain to these themes of transformation, our fears, facing our own monsters, but also connecting with the depth of the knowing of the potential for this new birth in us, or in our consciousness, in our life, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking as you're talking of the cycle, life, death, rebirth,
Mm-hmm.
and how as women, we have this cycle, we live this cycle, we embody this cycle every day in our menstrual cycle, which also when we're able to really flow with it and work with it with our bodies rather than against our bodies, that beautiful alchemical transformational possibility
Yes.
each day, every month, as we shed, which is no longer needed, and we come into this lovely new phase of spring. So that's also the blood, which is
Mhm.
Scorpio, right?
It is, yes. Scorpio governs the whole reproductive organs, genitals, bladder, bowel. So the first two chakras of also the trusting these processes, these cycles. The feminine cycle. Scorpio is feminine as well, watery. So it's also about emotions. And I'm thinking about how in our culture, the cycle itself, the blood, the bleeding, how there's so much shame about menstruation and other women mysteries, like how much intervention and medicalization and sanitization there is around women's bodies. All the practices that we're so used to, shaving, cleaning, deodorizing, all that stuff, it's
Yeah.
sort of now it's a natural thing. Well, natural as in we're used to it, it's normalized.
Normalized, yeah.
Yeah, that's the word.
Mm.
And as you said, there is such a depth of meaning and wisdom in our cycles.
Yeah. Where do we go?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much to say, isn't there? Just in terms of that depth and that wisdom that is available to us each day in our cycle. And I'm also thinking about the sanitization, as you say, and the shame that has, oh my God, that women have had to take on and embody for centuries, right? I'm just, thinking about when I have female clients that come in and they have their body hair showing it proudly, I'm like, wow, what a model, right? What a radical act that is, to let our bodies just be as they are without having to sanitize, shave, douche, you know, clean up. It's just, you know, I'm kind of like speechless almost, just how much women have had to suffer, really, and disconnect from their own natural rhythms, their own cyclical rhythms, from their own bodies, from our own messiness, from our smells, from our blood. And this is the time to kind of connect and, you know, hopefully embrace it, but maybe there is a middle ground as well, right? Maybe just in the acknowledging the capacity of our bodies, what we are so capable of, and maybe just that kind of seed of intention that there is so much depth here in our cycle, and there is so much that gives us information. And it, you know, to me, I always see it as a kind of it's a map, you know, it gives us a map to be able to navigate through life, telling us where we are in our cycle, giving us some information about what we can expect emotionally, physically, and in this Scorpio season, likening it to the premenstrual phase as well, right? Where actually, I often say, it is our veil between ourselves, what we need, and our environment is most thin. So we are so sensitive and attuned to what is going on in my environment that does not serve me, or that is rubbing me up the wrong way, that's pissing me off, it's irritating me. You know, we can use this information actually for such great benefit. Okay, so I'm feeling spiky, I'm feeling prickly, I'm feeling annoyed. What is happening here? Where do I have a need that's not being met? Where am I overstepping a boundary? Where is it that I have gone way past my limit? Or where is it that I have a longing and something is not being met in me? Right? What am I hungry for? So we can really use this time to inquire into these kind of more vulnerable, sometimes darker, spikier places, and find out more about what we need.
As you're speaking about the premenstrual phase, I'm thinking about how much shaming there is for all this instability, the emotional displays, and this, you know, even when we hear women, we say, oh, I've got PMS, or it's that time of the month, and there's a lot of shame, and there's a lot of hide it, put your demons, put your monster out, yeah, don't bring it into the meeting, don't bring it into the site. But it's so interesting because we have so much fun with dressing up as monsters, and actually don't listen to what is that voice of resentment or anger is saying to me about my needs. You've already said it, so I won't repeat. But I'm thinking about a Scorpio, and how even the sign itself and the symbolism, how there is this mistrust, right? Scorpio, snake, there's this almost, we even conditioned to be repelled by these animals and by how dangerous they are. And they are quite magnificent creatures. If you think about this, we mentioned the cycle of life, death, rebirth, how they shed their skin, and how they leave behind the forms that no longer serve, that are the shadows of them almost, right? And they come into this new form. And I'm thinking about how in November we have this green window, open window, to really almost rediscover ourselves, to shed some of the shadowy aspects that have been there probably for most of our lives, the things like shame, fear, these things that we perceive as flaws in us, or the not good enoughness, there's something about me that isn't quite right, and I need to hide it. I need to wait until that's gone, like this premenstrual phase, or like the blood. And once it's gone, then when I'm in my spring, which is straight after the bleeding, then I can come into the world, because then I feel full of energy, I feel clear, I feel linear. This is where I fit in this world that expects us to be action-oriented, linear, predictable, not too emotional, right?
Yeah.
And I just lost my track of thought, and it would explain that
Well,
I'm bleeding.
Okay, so I'm just thinking about the tension that creates in us trying to, so right now we are both bleeding, right? We're both on our moons.
Full disclosure.
Yeah, and so we're like, we don't have a structure. There's no linear way of doing this, because we are cyclical beings, and right now we're in our winter phase, and so we are just literally going with our flows, right? There's no way of trying to fit ourselves into a kind of more masculine, logical, linear mode of kind of doing. We just can't fit ourselves into that shape right now. And when we try to, because we live in a patriarchal culture where that is the message that, you're bleeding, plug it up with a tampon and take painkillers, and you just pretend like nothing has changed.
Or skip it with a pill, right? You can skip it too.
Or skip it, oh my God, or skip it with a pill. And the tension that creates in our bodies. Oh my goodness. That's where I went as you were talking.
And as where I go is something rebellious in me just now, when I'm thinking about how much depth there is, and how much, you see, the time of the actual bleeding is the most, we are the most connected to our whole being. As women, at the time of the bleeding, the left and right hemispheres are the most connected, and the blood flow between them is the clearest and the smoothest in the whole cycle. So we are actually, this is the best time to make decisions. This is the best time to really deeply feel into what is required. And I was going to do this recording by myself, and I've been sort of approaching to doing it 3 times, I think. And I wanted to speak about something related, but not about quite about this. And then I thought, Kate, let's have a chat about this, because my mind, my brain is just not up to just talking about it by myself. And just, I want to explore, I want to go into the cyclical, relational, emotional, connected dialogue. And so in the culture, and even in with my own introjected messages, the super ego said to me, well, can't you do it by yourself? Asking for help in our society is seen as weak. But actually, this is what transforms the shame, by bringing vulnerability and saying, hey, join me, come with me on this journey. Let's do it together. By doing that, we actually arrived at something much more important that we're talking about today than I probably would have by myself, because we're talking about that which is put into the shadows. And that's the place where our power is. And there's this whole, it feels like, trick or treat. There's this trickster, it feels like we are tricked by hiding away the place that is the most powerful to us, right? And and I don't know, probably most people haven't heard this phrase, bleed on it. When you don't know what to do, when there's so much going on and the going back and forth between things, I always cannot wait for my period to come, because I know that when my blood comes, my clarity is there. And today the clarity was, don't do it by yourself, just call Kate and do it together. And that was the best decision, because I'm having a really good time here, and we're actually connecting with something that is so important.
Yeah. So important, so vital, so crucial. I'm out of words.
So maybe actually we need to trust and listen to that guidance, because I think we've said it. And maybe just one thought that I want to share, thinking about this new moon, Scorpio energy, is if there's anything, maybe there's something in particular you're sort of approaching in your life and making decision and want a fresh start and use that Scorpio energy, it's really good to create any change in any area of your life. So that's, I really want to mention that. And one thing on the theme that we're actually exploring here today is, what would it be like to learn more about your cycle, different stages, and then learn about how you individually uniquely experience a cycle, how you feel yourself at different stages of the cycle, and what would it be? And that's the radical thought. How would it be to feel the respect and really completely trust that what's happening is guiding you, is not to be put away and corrected, but to really listen into it and see it for what it is, for the communication and for the wisdom that's coming from within.
Absolutely. And just to add to that, I want to just mention that when we can gather all of that information during our premenstrual phase about what we were saying, what's working, what's not working, and
Yes.
what we're tuning to, we gather that information, thinking of our womb as a cauldron, right? Dropping that information in, bleeding on it, really giving ourselves the time to incubate and reflect and just feel into all that we've gathered. And then coming through that process into our spring, where we actually are more mobilized energetically to begin to put some of that information into action. Maybe that's the point that we go, okay, here's the change I want to make. This is the transformation. This is what I'm going to action next. So really taking that lovely time through the autumn, winter to bleed on it, to incubate, and then coming into spring, coming back out into the world, more of a mobilized, dynamic focus and a bit more of a plan, right? That's where we can get more linear.
Yes. And to complete the cycle, after this spring, summer, the ovulation comes, right? And that's when we may take whatever we were doing in the spring, we may then bring into collaboration, or we may share some of that with others, because our communication is the most fluid at that time, right? And then afterwards we come into the autumn again, and we are revising, we're checking what worked, what is to be let go of, and so this whole cycle keeps.
That's lovely. Yeah, thank you just for clarifying that, because the summer is the relational part, right? Sharing the breaking bread, the coming together, and oh my God, what a lovely, how amazing are we as women? How amazing are we as women?
Cyclical, continuously renewing, regenerating, and empowering, and full of wisdom. And oh my God, please just have this intention of holding yourself in this. Just look at my hands, like a holy grail, right? The womb is the holy grail.
And this is what the world needs right now to rebalance, right? Bringing the feminine back, the heart-centered, intuitive, emotional, insightful, creative feminine back into balance with the masculine. This is what we need. So
amen.
Women to that. Okay. So until the full moon.
Yes, lovely. See you next time.